was his experience. 3 was his quality. 4, he was at Palace for 6 or 7 years. You don't play at a Premier League club or being in around a Premier League club not to be a good player. And one of them was obviously the injury situation there, and the other one was the inexperience of the department, and the 7th was his character, which, as you understand from my point of view, is incredibly important. The feedback that we got off people, that we got some decent connections down at Palace still, who are trying to help us out. Some not closet Sheffield United fans, but we know who they are. Gave glowing references, and the boy wanted to come as well, which we had that with Didsy a few years ago, and it wasn't a trial. He didn't have a club, and a couple of moves that he was proposing to make didn't materialise, and he wanted to come up, and he's done everything right, and we're delighted. Obviously, the only one is his match minutes, but he's a fit guy. Looked after himself, so we're looking forward to working with him.
And he's, well, obviously his arrival has been officially announced, so he's available for the matchday squad tomorrow then? Yeah,
he is, yeah. Clearance from an international clearance point of view, fingers crossed will hopefully that the people at the FA and the Belgium FA have not had an early lunch on a Friday afternoon and shot off early.
So just how sort of short of being match ready, 90 minutes week in, week out, would he be then? Because his last football year for Royal Antwerp is a few months ago.
He's kept himself fit. It's a situation that we've had with Danny Ings, with Ben Mee, with a couple of other players that have come in late. So, but he's equipped himself well. We've covered everything from the sports science point of view. We've given him a big MOT from an injury point of view, and he's come up. Positive. I wouldn't have signed him if I didn't think we needed him, and we need some experience in there. I said last season I think we were the 3rd youngest team in the division. I think we're either the youngest or the 2nd youngest team. So we definitely need experience all over the group, and most certainly in that position.
I know you're sort of assessing everything at the minute. Should the need arise, would the free agent market be something else that you might dip into?
Yeah, I think we're coming to the back end of that though now, Andy. But you never know, and we're doing our work accordingly because there's a lot of work to be done still. I recently put a document in with the recruitment team, and with the help with Carl Schieber and most importantly Steve Bettis, in terms of my thoughts about the group and my recommendations for January. I'll most probably be discussing those pretty soon with the board. I'd like to think I've already got a positive reaction and feedback in terms of my recommendations of what we need to do to make us better going into January. But obviously there's still 13, 14 games between now and that moment. Well, what we need to get right. I don't like the balance of the squad from my point of view. From a character point of view, from an experience point of view. So to adjust that if we have to, but I wouldn't have thought now there would be any more players coming in. It was just one that came up. We liked it. He's been in for 4 or 5 days and ticked every box. So fingers crossed he can help us in the next 14, 15 games and going forward as well. It's a great opportunity for him as well to get back to playing football and show him what he's all about.
Just on that, the document, I appreciate on my part this is kind of a lazy question, but is it big changes that you're after in January where possible, because there's the difficulties of that month versus what you might need to get the team going at that stage in the season?
Yeah, just recommendations. I think the group is too big. I think there's certain young players that need to go out on loan. There'll be certain decisions that we will be making, as you can understand. That'll be difficult ones as well. But that's part and parcel of my job, and I'm more than happy to make those decisions if it benefits the club.
You mentioned injuries there. Pre-Hull, Chong had an issue. Where's he at the moment?
Yeah, he's working away. Ollie Arblaster's working away as well. So they're the two. Kaku and Christian are fighting their way back as well. They've been injured as well, so they're fighting their way back and doing their rehab. But they're sort of medium term. I would say Christian more shorter term and playing the 21s, but he's been out for 10 months now since we signed him. So he's going to have a big build up to being available. But yeah, just recommendations. What I feel we need to strengthen. I don't think there's going to be, checkbook out and we're going to be signing players left, right, and centre. I'm going to do what I've done before: wheel and deal, and move players out and bring players in, and see where we go with that.
On Chong, then, is there a potential timescale that he might be playing football again?
I wouldn't expect him to be playing before the next international break.
Right. And you mentioned Blaster there. The last time I think we heard about him, he'd had some kind of setback in his recovery. So has there been a bit of progress there?
No, this is a 9, 10, 11 month injury. Some players come back at 8 or 9. Some players come back at 10, 11. My biggest thing that I've been consistent with Andy right the way through is because of the potential of the boy and trying to keep him on track as well, because he's so impatient. It's frightening. If I asked him to play tomorrow afternoon, he'd play tomorrow afternoon, but that's not the right thing to do for his benefit long term and for our benefit as a football club. So it's been sensible with his inclusion back in, but I should imagine he'll be coming back into first team training maybe the next sort of 10 days, the early part of it, integration, and then working his way off the back of that. So I think another one that will be looking maybe to come back in after the next international break, or maybe a week or two afterwards. But there's no benefit on us in terms of rushing him back. Everybody wants him back because of the quality he brings to us, and his ability, and his character and his passion, his enthusiasm. Know firsthand what all those qualities are like, having worked with him already. But certainly we have to be sensible with the decision.
When we spoke at Hull after the match at Hull, you were plotting the international break and sort of wanting improvements physically and mentally over this 2-week period within the squad. Have you seen that?
Yeah, we've had serious conversations. It was important that we work the way through. I've got to say the board have been outstanding. What can we do? Do we need to take them away on a training camp? No, it's pure hard work and messages and the narrative being what it is. And we've had definitely a stern conversation after Monday, the Monday after the Hull City game. I believe that we should have got 4 results out of 4. I don't think that's looking through rose-tinted glasses. We certainly should have got a result against Charlton and Southampton, and most certainly against Hull. There's different aspects of the team that I'm trying to sort out at the moment. From a mentality point of view, as you can imagine, there's a lot of players that have lost a lot of confidence, that we need to regain that. Simple messages, practice, drills and whatever, video clips. Some good players that are not playing where their ability should be and where their ability is shown at this football club. And I'll name check them. I'll name the likes of Cooper, and I'll name the likes of Harrison Burrows, and maybe a couple of others are the younger ones, but they'll get there. I think Coops he's had a good couple of weeks. So has Harrison as well. I think there's a couple of the senior players that are not playing to the top of their ability, especially at the top of the pitch. I think they can do more. I think the subs can do more. The lads on the outside need to do more to push the team that are playing at the moment. Make my job as incredibly difficult. We've got some injuries to some important players, but everybody's got that. So those are the messages. And as always, we break it down. There's a lot of tactical stuff in there. I wanted us to be harder to play against. I wanted us to be more aggressive and more committed, more like a Sheffield United team. What does a Sheffield United team look like? It's a saying and a phrase that I've spouted out so many times. I don't think we're doing enough in the top third of the pitch. We're not getting enough bodies forward. We're not creating enough chances. We don't look like we're going to get beat 2-3 and 4-0. But we've got to get the balance right. So, tactically working on different ways of playing, getting more players forward. Physically, been in better shape, working hard right the way through these 2 weeks, and mentally the message is that we need to get over. We're not in a great position. I'm not enjoying it, and the "will be okay" shout is not one for me. And if we were top of the division, I'd want to be top of the division by 5 points. If we were second, I'd want to be top. If we were third, I'd want to be second. If we were mid-table, I'd want to be in the playoffs. If we're in our position, I want to get out of our position. I think you know where I'm coming from. So we're not okay. We're not, it'll just happen. We're not entitled just because we're a club that's a big club in the division, just because we're a club that had a decent season last season, that automatically is going to happen. We've got to go and make it happen. So, yeah, I would say it was more jalfrezi than Kerma, if you know what I mean.
I do, yeah.
Which I put to the boys, and a few of the boys were scratching their heads when I was talking to them. A couple of boys have never had curries, which I thought was quite strange. Yeah, the message was, and it's an honest, upfront, straight message. I think every player that I've ever managed previously or at present will appreciate, because I used to as a player. I just wanted to know where it was at, and they know where it was at.
And perhaps an acceptance for all and everybody concerned that as you've peeled the layers back and you've found out what's been going on, etc., that really it's going to be a grind this year to wherever Sheffield United end up. It's not a light switch on and off you go kind of scenario.
No, listen, I expected us to be in a better position on a lot of those fronts, but we're not. And that's the fact. That's not me trying to cover it over. I'm not taking a team over that another manager's gone to another club, and as well, I've taken over teams that have been in better shapes, and I've seen other teams that have been in better shapes. And managers come in, and I'll be upfront and honest with it. It wasn't in a good place. I think everybody saw that right the way through, especially obviously off the back of the Friday night game at Ipswich. So there's a lot of work to be done, and we're going to have to suffer some pain. As I said, I still believe we should have got 4 results out of 4. I'm not saying we should have won all those 4 games. Not saying we should have comfortably won all those 4 games, but we're competitive. We need to do more, and we need to find it from within the group. We've got enough ability there. The characters of the group need to be tested now. We need to step through. We've created our own pressure, so we have to accept that, and we have to come through it.
And from a psychological perspective, how good would it be to get that first home win? You've won away, been some good away performances, but to get the W at Bramall Lane.
Yeah, it's the last 2 home games, because I think the supporters have been outstanding. I thought they saw a really positive performance against Southampton. We definitely should have got something. I think we all understand that, the decision that got stuck on us, but. No excuses, no hard luck stories. I told you about the Charlton game. It was chaos. I can't really criticise the players' attitude. It was just the way they went about trying to win the game resulted in us not getting the result that we wanted. So certainly this is our home. We want to make it as difficult as possible for teams to come and play. We have to play in a certain way, and I saw signs against Southampton. I thought, as I said, few things went against us that night, but they kept going right to the end. I think I believe the supporters appreciated that, but they're not here to appreciate hard work. They're not here to appreciate, we did all right and we did quite well. We've got to stick it all together and get that balanced performance that we all need, in terms of being physical, being competitive, wanting to run around, and wanting to play effective football and win games of football, because that's what we're here to do, and we certainly haven't done that enough.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Excuse me. I think it was after maybe the first or second game, once you come back, you said that you kind of underestimated just how badly things that they take how badly battered the players had been psychologically more than anything. Have you felt that at least kind of dissipate over the last 4 or
Yeah,
5 weeks?
we're trying to restore a lot of things. We're trying to restore an identity back into the team, which obviously has had gone missing. Which I think over the last 4 games you've seen an identity. I think you've seen a process in terms of how we want to play. We have to do better at the top of the pitch. I believed if we did better at the top of the pitch, in certainly the last 2 games, we'd have turned 2 losses into draws, stroke wins. So there's that part. But we talked about there's some young boys out there that are not used to this situation. That they came into a side last season that was winning, and as I said, I think the last time that I was speaking, or one of the previous times, it's easy to play when champagne is dripping from the ceiling. This is a tough situation that we're in. We can't get away from it. We've got to own it. That the situation that we're in is we're at the bottom of the division, and we're the worst team in the division at this particular moment, and that hurts. And I think people will take, especially locally, and I think even in the Championship, I think people will be enjoying the situation and the position that Sheffield United in. Well, I'm telling you, I'm not, and the players shouldn't, and it's only us that can do something about it. But certainly from a confidence point of view, which then you integrate that in terms of overall general performances individually, players not playing at the level that they know they can play, and the combination of myself and the coaching staff and them have got to get them back to that level. I'm 100% certain I'll be able to do it, and I'm 100% certain that they'll be able to do it. So, but it might take a little bit of time. It's not just going to click automatically, and they're going to go from these players that got beat up and smashed at Middlesbrough and Ipswich to all of a sudden come in and start playing unbelievable free-flowing performances. So, I've talked to the senior players. I had a great conversation with Danny Ings, and he talked about, and he's played at the highest level, played for Liverpool, played in the Premier League, played at Southampton, played at West Ham in the Premier League. And he says, you got sometimes dig in and grind it out individually and as a team. So that's the message, trying to be hard to beat, but we still got to go and score goals to win games of football, and we've not done enough in the final third. I think our build-up play has been pretty decent. We were comfortable against Southampton. We got done on a set play and got done on a 25-30 yard wonder goal. The build-up play, we created enough chances there. Should have wanted us to create more. Got to execute the final bit better. And I just thought, against Hull, we were just too safe. We just didn't get enough men forward. So players have got to take themselves out of the comfort zone at times as well, to make those unselfish runs, to get in the box from deeper positions and to fill the box more, because if we don't do that, then we're never going to have that ability and opportunity to score. So getting the balance right defensively, which I think in a way we don't look as fragile as maybe we had done watching the previous games. But most importantly, giving ourselves an opportunity to win games of football by scoring goals.
The way, excuse me, some of the performances have been, I think fans probably sometimes think that the way you're setting them up, the forwards, the way they're playing is the way you want them to play. But are they kind of playing?
Yeah, because I tell you what I want us to do, I just want us to knock the ball around in midfield and just keep the ball.
So that's
try and get. I think the manager at Watford talked about it in terms of formations, and people talk about it and go formations 4-4-2, 3 or whatever. We try and get 5 on the top line, 5 players on the top of the pitch. And we've got to get 5 players on the top of the pitch. So counting your numbers and not being too safe and being behind the ball, we have to show a little bit more ambition in our play. And sometimes it's physical that they can't get to the top of the pitch. So there's that aspect that I've got to work on as well. But, we're not a negative side. I don't set us up to play on the counter-attack, because if we were, we'd just be sat on the edge of the box, soaking it in and trying to hit teams on the counter-attack. We haven't played again on the counter-attack against Charlton, didn't play on the counter-attack against Oxford, didn't play on the counter-attack against Southampton, and didn't play on the counter-attack against Hull.
Shackleton was back, I believe, with the under-21s this week. Does that indicate that he's a player that you want to integrate back into the first team and get an opportunity to play.
Yeah, definitely, Chris. Shax has not played enough for this football club. He's been pretty unfortunate with his injuries last season, and he picked up an injury pre-season as well. So it's good to see him back. He's an infectious, enthusiastic player. Played in, we're just looking at his appearances in the Premier League for Leeds under Bielsa. So for Marcello to trust him in the Premier League, he's a good player. So he's been frustrated. We've been frustrated, but he's come through Tuesday afternoon and played 45. So he'll be involved or be in the squad on Saturday. So that's a bonus for him and us.
Your opponents this weekend, obviously they changed their manager. Is another one of those things?
That what recently?
This week.
Last 24 hours.
I was going to say, does that make it more difficult to kind of analyse them? But they change it that much. It doesn't.
No. Listen, we'll do our analysis on the opposition. They're a Watford team. I've worked there. They've got some really good individuals. So the manager's experienced and had success there. I think by all accounts, it's a popular return, and he'll want to get off to a good start. But our message, have we done our own work on them? Yeah. Do we know until we get that team sheet or we get out onto the wicket at 3 o'clock to see how they're lining up? We'll only know then, and we've got to adapt our certain bits and pieces that help us, try and win a game of football. But our main focus this last 2 weeks has been about us, about all the things that I've talked at length about this afternoon. Just
one more from me. Biggsy wrote this column this week with us that one of the key factors in the success that you had before was the leaders in the team and the amount of the characters that you could round them all off. Do you feel like there are enough at the minute, and are there potentially other players in there you can think maybe not just now, but I can rely on you as you get through the club to try and drag the rest of your teammates along?
I'll be honest about it, and I think you'll understand this. I think when new players walk through the door, they don't want to give it the big un. Danny Ings, Ben Mead doesn't want to give it the big un. Walk into the front door and go, I'm here. I've played this amount of Premier League games. I've played for these teams. They don't. They integrate them way humbly into the group. Whether it's Chio, who's played in the Premier League, or Mark McGuinness, Ben, and Danny Ings, those types of characters. That process usually happens in pre-season. So we get it all out the way, and then now they have to be a voice. My conversation with them now is that you're in the building. So they are potentially those characters that we are missing. And as well, it's about time some of the senior players stepped up to the plate as well. We've lost characters, without a shadow of doubt. Robbo, Rian, Vinny, and Nell, we've lost big characters. Kiefer, big character. So we've lost them. So the new ones have got to put all that to one side, which I've told them now. I know what your character's like. And I've been in a change room, Chris, as well. And it is quite funny that a new player will stroll in and he'll sort of, I'm sitting here, I'm doing this, I'll park in that spot, I'll get on the music, I'll get my music on the sound system, and everybody's looking round and going, not having him. And then these type of boys that are really solid pros, but now, as I've talked to them about it, they've got to step forward. And as I've just said as well, the likes of Ayman, Campbell and Burrows, even if he's a young player, and Sidney Peck, even if he's a young player, or Cooper, they've got to step forward and take the place, because that's what happens. It's an evolution of that. Robbo can't play forever. These things do happen. Transfers, Vinny goes, Anel goes. These things happen. Who's stepping forward? And those would be the messages that I would have installed on the first day of pre-season. I'm installing them after 8 weeks or whatever it is, 8 or 9 weeks, which isn't ideal, but the message is over loud and clear now to them. And as you said, I've had quite a lot of messages in terms of trying to get through to the players on a lot of fronts in a short period of time. But that message is loud and clear to them. Who's going to step forward? Who's going to be the leader? Who's going to set things off? Who's going to take control? And hopefully we will see those guys coming to the fore. I've got to say, I've seen it this week after the talk. I've seen the skipper needs to do more. I've talked to him about it. He's played at a really high level. He's one of the top performers at Millwall. Another guy really humble. I think maybe he's looking at it and going, well, I've been given the captain's armband, and I've only been here 3 or 4 weeks. I might have to be careful that I don't upset anybody, or don't say to Gusami, you need to do better, or to Tyrese, you need to run down the channels a little bit more, or to Callum to get hold of it, or to Siddy, limit your touches, or to Harrison, find your quality, or also those sort of messages. But now he needs to, and they all need to. So looking forward to that, seeing it in training. But the acid test, as we all know, is what happens on a Saturday afternoon. So fingers crossed we'll see all those qualities against Watford. Thank you,
Chris. In that respect, and in others, has this felt like your pre-season almost? In terms
it is. Yeah, it is. We're behind, and I talked about it. Yeah. We're playing catch up. I'm a bit envious that the likes of the other managers have had that. I think obviously myself and Javier the first two changes in the Championship, so they're obviously in a better position than us. But yeah, envious that that something that maybe would have happened earlier on is happening now, but still grateful for that opportunity to get a grip of it. And I've said that the owners and Steve have been incredibly supportive. The chats that I've had with them weekly in terms of what they can do to help, and the backing that I've had. And I know Steve's gone on obviously Radio Sheffield this week as well, and had to answer some difficult questions, but he does it honestly, and he's worked. The partnership between me and him over a number of years has been pretty successful. So I know how he works and what he wants to do. Stays out the limelight, but has to put himself on show when these things come around, and be the voice of the football club. And so the combination's good, in my opinion, and myself more than anybody is a committed and a huge desire to repay them back for the backing that I've had.
And when you said earlier about it's not okay, when Stephen said to Gids about the conversation you'd had about not falling into the Luton trap, do you feel there were some players in the squad who needed that shake?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. If I thought it was not.
No, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
aimed at
sorry,
players, not supporters.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's nothing to do with the supporters. And listen, I think there's always a section of any club supporters that always think that they should be doing better. It was there last season that we should be playing this free-flowing football after a summer build of 2 or 3 weeks. So I understand that. I get it. I think everybody understands. It's immediate. Everybody wants immediate. Everybody wanted to win that first game 5-0 and then turn Oxford over and then turn Southampton over 3-0 and go all and win. And I did. I wanted to do that. I might have thought it might be a little bit more difficult than maybe it is. And until you get in and amongst it, then you can really sort of assess it as you need to. But yeah, I think that these players definitely need to do more. We all need to do more. We all need to bring it all together and work hard, as hard as we've ever worked to bring it together, to connect it, and to turn the situation round.
And in terms of the players whose standards have dipped from last season, the players you obviously had, is there a common theme there? Do you think it's about confidence, clarity? Do you even care?
I think it's a combination. the definitely the first two things that you've said. And maybe losing sight of, I did an exercise, I think after the Southampton game. What do you want this team to look like? And basically all the things that I want it to look like. But it's all right, players one by one and write it on the board. They've got to deliver. We've got to deliver, haven't we? I know what I want it to look like. I think majority of Sheffield United fans know what they want it to look like, but players have got to deliver it. But I have seen, really positive 2 weeks, I've got to say, and it's no spin. But the pressure's on, because we have to turn training ground attitudes and actions into match day performances, results.
And in terms of managing the numbers in the squad, as you've said, you feel like you've got more players than you want to be working with. You've had to add one for balance reasons. How do you sort of go about that? Do you tell certain players you're not in my plans, or is it a case of giving all of them the opportunity to be a part of it from January going?
Yeah, I mean, we're still, there's a couple of the younger kids have gone back into the 21s. They need to go out on loan. But we're still working with 21, 22. We've got 4 or 5 out injured at the moment, but still like to work with a more slimmer, more streamlined squad that's got the balance. And that was part of the document that was sent over to the owners as well. They understand that everybody has to push every opportunity that I see them, whether I see them in a training session or whether I see them at an under-21s game. Whatever they do is an opportunity to impress, and they need to take that. And I want to be going back into my office after every training session and going, how do we get him into the team? That was a situation that I thought regarding Ben Mee. How do we get Ben Mee into the team? We got him in, and he's producing the levels that we knew he can and has done in the past, and that consistency level. So that's a sort of an example of how we roll. And
just on Jairo, you mentioned his Premier League background in terms of obviously ticking a big box in terms of quality. But when you're bringing a player in at this time of year, how important is it that they've played in England before? Is that significant or not?
I would say, yeah, knowing what the Championship's about, knowing the intensity of the Championship, what Saturday will be all about, because he'll have played in those sorts of environments where Palace would have lost games and there'd be pressure on them to get results. It's not that they've been in the top 5 or 6 of the Premier League over the last sort of 7, 8, 9 years. So they'll have had difficult periods, and he would have been part of that. So would Ben Mee, so would Danny Ings. So their experience is really, really vital and important, and just to balance up the age as well, because there's obviously the work that we do on the training ground and in the analysis rooms and whatever, but in the change room's really important, and out on the pitch to make those nice, calm decisions and play the game in the way that he has played it at Palace, that has given him those 7 or 8 years in the Premier League.
And is he in the same boat as what you were saying to Chris about Danny Ings and Ben Mee, what have you? No bedding in period in terms of showing his leadership skills. Have you already spoken?
Yeah, I think you'll understand, Stu, that there's the Robbos and there's the quieter ones. So it's the balance by action and by voice. So a combination really, but sometimes the quieter ones, when they open the mouth and they say something, I'm sure even just working with Danny and working with Ben so far, and even Chio, when they open their mouths, there's definitely a silence about the group and an attention to what they're messaging to the players, because it does come from a good place.
So where does Jairo fit in that? Is he a talker? Is he a quiet leader?
Well, he's only been in sort of 4 or 5 days. I don't think he's going to be terracing around the place at under a mile an hour. So I should imagine he'd be a nice calming influence in the middle of the park. That was his game. You know, he's played a number of positions, but we see him as a 6. We see him playing in the middle of the park, giving us an experience, a discipline, a stability, and keeping the game ticking over, and making really good decisions, which he has done for a long time.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Cheers, Stu.